What's going on today, everybody? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be working on the old motorcycle again. I've had something that's been, well, since I bought the motorcycle, it's been there. And today we're finally going to take the time and fix this because it's getting a lot worse than it was. So we're going to go ahead, we're actually going to fix the seat on this bike. So I've got a tear in it, and I'm going to go ahead and fix the cushion underneath, and then go ahead and re-wrap or refit leather around the outside of the seat. So without further ado, let's get to it. When you're looking at the bike from this side, it doesn't look bad. The seat really doesn't look too terrible on it until you get a little bit closer, and then you notice that the whole edge is ripped off. That, and then somehow I managed to get a cigarette burn in this seat. So I am going to have to get rid of the Ninja, which is kind of disappointing, but I'd rather have a seat that is not have this in it and fix this is the main thing. So I've gone ahead and I've gone to actually Joann's and gotten some fabric, some marine leather that's rated for water. And it doesn't look exactly like this, which is kind of disheartening, but it will work. We'll go ahead and we'll fix this seat, their main seat, and then we'll fix our booster, our double up seat. I'm gonna have to keep the band, which is not a huge deal, but we're gonna go ahead and rewrap both of these seats and get them matching and fix mainly this giant thing because it bugs me. There it is. We've got our fabric that we've actually picked up from Joann's fabric store, really anything that works. It's marine grade, so it will withstand the weather. But if we look closer, it actually has a leather-like texture to it. Whereas this one, our old one, does not. I was just gonna try to replace this one and keep this one the same, but I'm not gonna like having this leather textured look and not having a leather textured look. They're gonna have to match. It's gonna kill me if it doesn't. So we'll go ahead and we'll just rewrap both of them. Here's the stuff, nice and thick. It is a little bit elastic, so it has a little bit of stretch to it. Well, now that we've gone over what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be using, the other thing I forgot to mention is you need a chunk of foam. Not necessarily for everybody. If you just want to rewrap yours, just rewrap it. But I have a chunk of the foam that's missing on the corner that needs to be replaced. Otherwise, it's going to look funny. So, gone ahead and got a chunk of foam. Just a mattress we were throwing away, had old memory foam mattress. Just took a chunk off of it, and we'll go ahead and graft it to that new one. It's not going to be the same as underneath, but it's fine because it's on the very tip, and I just need it for, I guess, for the mold, so it looks even, looks the same on both sides. So we've got that. We've got our leather, fake leather, whatever it is, ready to go. The other thing that you're going to need is actually a stapler, staple gun, something of that sort. I have done it before with just buying a box of staples, and you take needle nose pliers or vice grips, you hold the staple and you hammer it in. Not very effective because it's a two-person job at that point. With a stapler, you can pull it back and staple it yourself. The other thing is, don't get huge staples. Half-inch staples are way too big. Now, these are 5/16 and they're still going to be pretty thick for what I actually need. So we're going to be very careful on how we go ahead and put the staples in. I'm not going to put them straight in. I'm not going to put them facing towards the outside of the seat because then they're going to be poking through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to angle them more towards the inside, so hopefully it won't pull or it won't stick through and poke me. It's on the side. It's a pretty high traffic area, but I'm also going to move the staples to the inside. Just extra security. Before we get into the meat of the project, I'd like to thank you for clicking on the video. If you like what we're doing around here, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, comment, all that stuff. Just thank you. Thank you for clicking on it. Okay, let's get into the meat of the project. Obviously, the first thing we gotta do is actually get to our seat and take it off. On the ZX-10Rs, it's kind of cumbersome. We gotta take our rear seat off, which is coming off anyways. We gotta take our rear fairing apart, and then we can get to the bolts for our actual seat. So we'll go ahead and take that stuff off and get these seats off here and ready for disassembly. Well, there it is. We've got our seats taken off and our rear fairing top part taken off. Now I've got an aftermarket Hot Bodies kit rear tail on my bike, and it's held in by 4 screws. There's one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. And then you saw me, it just slides off the back, easy. And then your seat's held in by 2 10s, sitting right there, and then take those out, pull your seat back and up, and it just clips on right underneath there. That's it. Pulled them out. Now we've got our 4 bolts sitting right there for the back fairing. We're going to keep in a safe place so we don't lose them. Our second seat and our main seat, and then our leather stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get this off of here, see what we need to do to fix this. I think I'm going to tackle the main seat first. Yeah, we'll tackle the main seat first, and then we'll get to this one after that. Here's the underside of both of the seats. It's a good idea to take notes on kind of where they've stapled things. Like this is going to be a hard point. You can kind of see how the leather hangs out right here. So that's going to be a really stretched area, as well as these 2 sides are really stretched, and this top part's actually really stretched in there. So we know we've got to deal with those stretch points, and there's some extra flap. Kind of just make mental notes of how they've gone ahead and done this, so it makes it easier for you in the long run. We'll go ahead, you can kind of see where they've stapled. These staples are going in at an angle into the seat, so they're not poking through, which is good, but that's kind of what the foam is there for. We'll see when we get there how well this works. One thing you definitely want to check is how thick your staples are. So these are the staples that I actually have, and this is what's in the seat. So you can see they stick in quite a bit more than the other one, than the OEM one does. So we're going to have to be very careful on how we set these in here. And we might even go ahead and cut a rail down. So you've got a rail, we can go ahead and cut this down a little bit and maybe make it a little shallower so it's not sticking in the seat quite as far. Definitely good to check to see what you've got. Take one off that's not huge. I took this one off right here. It's not holding a whole bunch on. It is holding a little bit, but if I do need to, there's enough padding in there that I can hide it again if I need to. Definitely double check. So we'll go ahead and disassemble this main seat first, and all I'm going to do is just take a screwdriver, get pried kind of underneath it, get them started, and if I need to, I've got needle nose pliers sitting right here that I can pull it out the rest of the way. Get those out of there and then throw them away. Okay, so now we got to work on this back corner. And I've gone ahead and I've gotten a flat edge on 2 sides because I knew the bottom was going to be flat, and then I can cut a nice flat smooth edge to butt this up against. So we'll get a razor blade out and give this a nice clean line. Alright, now we've got a clean line to go ahead and put our other piece. Our next piece that's got a flat side on it, we can put our flat side up against it, and they mate together really well. Clean this off and we'll get a little bit of glue. Super glue works, spray adhesive works, kind of whatever you need to do. The fabric will actually hold it on. We just need to hold it in place so that we can shape it in the shape that we actually want. So we'll go ahead, get this glued on there, and get it set and ready. Well, while that one's drying, we're gonna go ahead and get ready on the secondary seat, and we actually have to take the strap off. I want the strap on the bike because I use it for my hats. I tuck my bills under it and they stay on there. So I want the strap, so we're gonna save the strap. It's not gonna be perfectly the same, but it'll be all right. We're gonna go ahead, take the strap off, and then go ahead and remove all of the staples. So it's actually held on. There's 2 bolts under there. We gotta take those 2 bolts. Those 2 bolts hold the strap on. Easy. Take them off. Take the staples out. So we've got our foam that we're gonna graft in here. I'm gonna go ahead and let that one dry. Might as well, it can't hurt. Let it dry, get it really, really dry so it doesn't come off of this. So we'll put this seat to the side. We go ahead and I've got the stuff off of the other one. You can see there's the little cigarette hole that I had in there. Gone ahead and stuffed a little bit of foam in there so it'll help bridge it. It's not a little dip, but we'll go ahead. I've got a piece cut up here. It's definitely bigger than what I need, but that's fine. We're gonna have plenty that we can cut off. So we've got a razor blade handy so we can cut things off. And then we've got our stapler right here ready to go. And all we just need to do is start stretching this over where we actually need it. I'm gonna start on this side. I'm gonna fold this side over, get a couple staples, probably one up here, one right down here, and then the other side, and then work this tip, and then slowly work my way around, doing certain sections, and slowly working it and pulling it real tight and make sure that I've got enough tension on it to actually keep this flat. Because if you don't, it'll leave little wrinkles and it'll be funky looking. So tension is the key to these. So there it is. We've got our rear seat all ready to go. Doesn't have the ninja symbol. Sad. But all the excess is trimmed off of it. All the staples are double checked to make sure that they're in all the way, because apparently the gun wasn't hitting hard enough and not pushing it through on some of them. So I just went ahead with a hammer, tapped some in, and where I could I used some channel locks and then this steel sheet to kind of push them in, just clamp it into that steel sheet. That helped clamp all of them in, made sure they're all nice and tight and in there. And now we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. There is a little bit of this overlap folding that I might have to iron out or maybe glue down, or I might have to do something with that. I'm afraid that it's going to be hitting the body too much, but maybe it will just eventually push itself down. This stuff is a lot thicker than the other one that came off of it. This one's really, really thin. Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell on there, but it's really thin stuff. So we'll see how it works when I put this back together. Should be fine because it sits just right in here. And it fits in there pretty decent, so I'm not too stressed about it. We'll figure it out. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and move on to this. I just went through and I did a real rough job on getting this shaped where I needed to. This foam will be pushed down by this leather. This leather will absorb all the abnormalities in this, so I'm not too stressed about it. But we're going to go ahead and now we're going to go and get this one all wrapped up. I've got a couple stretch marks in the actual seat itself, and I'll show you what they kind of look like, but it's for me kind of forming and like working it with my hands as well as when it was rolled up in the bag, it was rolled up in a certain way where it actually had one of the creases in the seat. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a iron and a rag with water on it and see if I can get some of it out. I might not be able to get all of it out, but if I can get some of it out, it'll be better than nothing. So we're gonna go ahead, put a wet rag over it, and then iron that, let the rag cool it down, and see if that will actually take some of the creasing out of this seat. There we go, we've got everything kind of done, dialed in. I've got a couple spots I had to rework. Corners are obviously the hardest part to do. So the best way, or the easiest way I found to tackle them, is you obviously have to pull your centers, and so work your way into the corner. So you work top, your bottom, and then your sides, and you slowly start working your way in and out of things. And then you'll end up with your corners. So what I like to do is I'll take my first, so I have like a pin here and a pin here. I'll take my next one, and instead of stretching it and trying to fold it over, I'll stretch it down or into it, and as well as down, and that will kind of pull it this way. So I'm trying to alleviate how much I have bunched up right here, because in corners, you get a lot of material just kind of bunched up and hanging out, and you can't really do anything with it. You can't cut that out. So this stuff being thicker than the last stuff definitely made a huge difference on how much I have to like kind of pull away from it. So you try to pull that material from this corner and get it away from the corner as much as you can. So kind of pull it down. You can see I've bunched up some here, and I've got some bunched up down in here where I'm trying to pull this corner out away from it. Let's do the same thing on both sides. Slowly work your way into the corner, and then what I like to do is I have this flap where the very center of it, I'll pull it down, wiggle it around, and fold it flat like this. So that fold will actually hold, and you don't have a whole bunch of creases setting in the corners. So I've got 3 on this one. This one turned out a little bit better. This one only has 2 creases on it, which is still more than I would like, but if you're looking at it from the back side, you don't see those creases. There's going to be creases no matter what. It's got something on there. There we go. You're gonna have creases no matter what. It's all about how you can hide those creases and kind of tips and tricks you can learn to get those creases away. These bottom ones are a lot sharper corners, and they're a lot more material that I had to move around. These are on the back side, however, and they're not going to be really hanging out of the bike. There's a fairing right here that kind of covers everything, so that's not the end of the world. I did try to iron these down a little bit flatter. That didn't really happen or help me out, so over time it'll eventually flatten out to where things will fit nice and snug. Now we've got both of them all wrapped up, ready to go. Let's go ahead and put the bike back together. Well, there we go. There it is in all its glory. Both seats installed. No more cigarette burn. And I've got a corner on this bad boy. So it didn't turn out quite as perfect as I was hoping it would be. And that's probably because the foam that I used was a different density than this foam. This is really dense foam, and this is really not dense foam. This is like a super soft cushion. So what I should have done is built it up a little bit and had that blend in a little bit better. But for what it is, it's not the end of the world. I can live with it, but it turned out pretty good. It's all done. And now for the tips and tricks I learned, I guess, along the way. If you're having problems with the material, how it was folding, give it a shot. Iron it out a little bit. Get a wet cloth, put it on there, iron that wet cloth, and let that wet cloth sit on there for a second. That helped me out a bunch with the crease. I was about ready to restart and do a different piece just to get the crease kind of off. Maybe it's a little forethought. Maybe I should have put a little more forethought on where those creases were. There's a tip for you guys. The other tip is start on your biggest flat edges. Get that as tight as you can and then work your way out from there. It's not going to be perfect, especially on this main seat right here. That I thought I wasn't going to be able to get it as tight as I did. And that's starting out, and it was super wrinkly in the middle. I couldn't quite get it tight enough, but after pulling on it really hard and getting it all worked around the corners, it turned out pretty good. And there's only the corners on the underside that I don't love, but that's on the underside, so you don't see it. It's not gonna be perfect, but it works. The other tip that I have is make sure that all the staples are in. One of the problems I had was I would staple it and oh yeah, I got it, and I let go of the leather and it pulls the staple right out because the staple wasn't quite set in there. So definitely make sure you've got that staple gun pushed down as hard as you can. Get a good quality staple gun, because the one I have wouldn't quite push the staples through the plastic. It would get it started, or most of the way through, but not all the way through. That's another thing. And that's it. Just take your time with it. Patience is a virtue here. Take your time. It's not going to be perfect when you start. Realize that. You're going to have wrinkles. Just work those wrinkles out. It's staples. If you need to, pull the staple out. Try again. So here's all the tools that I used on this project. I've got my Gorilla Glue, my spray adhesive. I've got a 10mm to take the seat off. I've got a knife to go ahead and cut my material around. I got needle nose just in case I needed something to pull the staples out, made it easier. Got my little flathead screwdriver that I use to pull staples out. I've got my staple gun with staples in it. I've got a ball peen hammer, not the end of the world if it's not a ball peen. And then I use some channel locks here just to kind of pinch things and pinch those staples back in if the ball peen wasn't working, because you're hitting on a foam seat pad and it was absorbing more than it was actually hitting. The other thing is I've got an Allen key or Allen head here, hex, to go ahead and take the seat off. Keys are over there. Keys to take the back seat off. Well, there you go. That's how it's done. Gone ahead and redone the seat on my bike, and now I won't have any problems with the rain or any water or anything that I have getting in the seat anymore. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. That helps me out a ton, more than you know. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and catch you on the next video. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.